Yes, Mr. Martin, we can hear you.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Let's try that again. I would like to call the Monday, July 18th, 2022 meeting of the Wilson School Board to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Here.
Dr. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. Martin?
Here.
Mr. McCray?
Here.
Mr. Negrini?
Here.
Mr. Schneider? Mr. Case?
Here.
Mr. Hart?
Here.
Mrs. Cocker?
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Please stand for the pledge to the flag. We have no items under communication or any public participation on agenda items this evening. The board met in executive session prior to the meeting to discuss personnel. 2.1, request to approve the minutes of the school board meeting held on June 20th, 2022, as attached. Do I have a motion for 2.1?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second?
Kennedy?
Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. 3.1, Treasurer's Report, Mr. Martin.
I submit for approval tonight the financial reports as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Negrini, second.
Mr. Negrini, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under payment of bills, Mr. Negrini.
Make a motion at this time for the payment of bills in the following: from the general fund, $8,166,004.83; from capital reserve, $86,900.70; from the 2019 A construction fund, $638,993.11; and from the 2021 C construction fund, $5,724.78.
Thank you, Mr. Negrini. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second case.
Mr. Case, thank you. Any discussion? No? Roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Abstain.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
7 yes, 1 abstain.
Financial reports.
A motion to approve the financial reports for the month of June 2022, the cafeteria, child care, and the activity accounts from Southern Middle School, Wilson West Middle School, and the senior high school as attached.
Thank you, Mr. Negrini. Do we have a second?
Second case.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Superintendent's report. Dr. Trickett.
Thank you, President Cocker. Tonight, I submit the superintendent's report inclusive of the personnel program recommendations. A couple items to highlight. First and foremost, Mrs. Kathy Folk, who's not here this evening, business educator, pioneered the School to Work program for us, getting students out of the classroom into work environments and awarding them credits for their time working with their mentors. Is going to be retiring at the end of the first semester. So thankfully, we have until January 13th to learn from her and the experiences that she created for kids, but just wishing her well as she moves on to the next stage of her life. Quite a few change of status, which is typical, again, this time of year throughout the summer as we're kind of reshuffling to try to meet the needs of children. And then also some new personnel, professional hires. Alicia Kramer is here today in the back, so welcome Alicia to the Bulldog team. We're very glad to have you here, as well as a variety of other folks. Last piece I'd like to highlight is that those who are serving in our summer programs and our extracurricular programs. We've talked a lot about how important hiring quality people is to the school district in order to deliver the type of results that this community expects. And that's true this time of year. There's a lot that happens within a school district outside of the school year, and we run a full complement of programs for a variety of learners all throughout our system, and they're highlighted on this agenda for different programs that are running. Also, our extracurricular and co-curricular programs. These are opportunities for us to engage kids and families in our school system and to build relationships with them and to build the type of environment that they need to thrive. And as you see on our extracurricular piece here, these folks don't earn a huge wage for the service that they provide and the impact they have on children. Just want to make sure we take a minute to highlight those people who give of their time and their talents. And then the last piece I have before the board considers 6.1 to 6.7 is just an update on the thought exchange. And just want to thank the community for collecting those thoughts. Thought exchange is one of those tools that we have to engage different stakeholder groups in the work that we're doing. And it provides us with great insight into what people are thinking. So for this particular exchange, we had 633 community members participate. 75% of them roughly were folks outside of this school building. So not teachers, not employees, but people that live and work and send their kids to the school district. Of those thoughts, providing feedback to the entry plan, it really came to the top, this idea of a sense of belonging, connection to the school district, and safety and security. And for those people who have been watching these board meetings televised or have been engaged in conversation here over the last school year, or if you work in this school district or just in a parent, you know that that's true. You know, the school district has some challenges with regard to these items, just like every other school district in the Commonwealth does and every other school district across the country. So we've been attacking this concern head-on really since May. We've been meeting with different stakeholder groups internally, and today we're actually going to launch another exchange specifically focused on getting your feedback and your insight on things that we can do to help us refine our strategic goals going into this school year. Safety and security of students, staff, and our community is the primary goal. There are other goals that are also being developed, but all of them hinge on the successful work that we do in this area. So we're looking forward to getting a strong turnout again, looking for your voice one more time as we refine those goals and put them into practice for this school year. So again, thank you. Also, on that note, we're also very encouraged to see that the state released their budget, and within that budget was an additional $192,000 in one-time money that we need to spend specifically on the work that we're doing with safety and security. So again, very, very encouraged by that and thankful for the budget passing. That's all I have, President Cocker.
Thank you, Dr. Trickett. I'm looking for a motion to approve Superintendent's Report 6.1 through 6.7 as presented.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second?
Negrini, second.
Mr. Negrini, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mrs. Casper,
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. McCray,
Yes.
Mr. Negrini,
Yes.
Mr. Case,
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under consent items, 8.1, request to accept with gratitude the following donations. A donation of $1,000 from the Wilson Education Foundation for the purpose of supporting end-of-the-year employee appreciation events. Looking for a motion to accept with gratitude for 8.1. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Looking for a second.
Second.
Mr. Case, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I would just like to thank the Wilson Education Foundation for always putting our students and teachers first, and just encourage everybody to, that it's done fully by donation. So, and everybody in the community can chip in. We have something on the Wilson website under Wilson Education Foundation, in addition to Mr. Case's fun events that he's always sharing in his committee report. So I'm sure that will come up again at the end of the meeting. I just wanted to thank the foundation for all of the good work that they do for our school and community. So we have a first and a second. It is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Under Human Resources, 9.1, request approval of the contract between the Wilson School District and Family Guidance Center Inroads Employee Assistance Program, pending solicitor review and approval. 9.2, request approval of the 2022-2023 extracurricular game helper rates. Looking for a motion to approve 9.1 and 9.2 as presented.
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Do we have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray? I'm sorry? He did respond. Okay. And Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Student Services, 10.1, request approval of the application for Act 80 Days for elementary and secondary for the 2021-22 school year as presented. 10.2, request approval of doctors, dentists, and game coverage for the 2022-23 school year as attached. 10.3, request approval of the affiliation agreement with Moravian College for 2 years, beginning on July 18th, 2022, and ending on June 30th, 2024, as attached, for unpaid internship experiences and related services fields such as OT, PT, nursing, etc. 10.4, request approval for a service agreement with Malvern Academy at a rate of $230 per student per day for the 2022-23 school year, beginning 8/24/22 and ending 6/02/23. 10.5, request approval to contract with Devereaux Foundation ESY 2022 program for one special education student at a cost of $325 per day and one-to-one services at a cost of $40 per hour, beginning 7/5/22 and ending 8/18/22. 10.6, request a contract with the Antietam School District for one special education student to attend the Wilson School District ESY program at a total of $3,250, beginning 6/27/22 and ending 7/28/22. 10.7, request permission to contract with New Story for 6 special education students for 2022-2023 school year services. 2 students will be at a cost of $385 per student per day. 4 students will be at a cost of $405 per student per day, beginning 8/23/22, ending 5/31/23. 10.8, request permission to approve the adoption of a settlement agreement and release for placement in lieu of FAPE at Capstone Academy for the 2022-23 school year at a cost not to exceed $87,273.34 in tuition, including speech therapy at a cost not to exceed $2,000 and occupational therapy not to exceed $1,200. Transportation will be provided by the district for the 2022-23 academic school year. Looking for a motion to approve student service agenda items 10.1 through 10.8 as presented.
Hart.
Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Mr. Hart, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Finance, 13.1, request approval of the resolution ratifying tax assessment appeals as presented. 13.2, request approval of the budget transfers dated June 15th, 2022 through June 30th, 2022 as attached. Looking for a motion to approve finance agenda items 13.1 and 13.2 as presented.
So moved, Negrini.
Mr. Negrini, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second case.
Mr. Case, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Curriculum and Staff Development, 14.1, request the approval of a contract with Albright College Science Research Institute, pending solicitor review, to offer 4 graduate-level courses to a cohort of 10 teachers in total experience learning. Cost of the courses will be paid through the obligations set forth in the collective bargaining agreement between the Wilson Education Association and the Wilson School District. 14.2, request the approval of a contract with Volt Athletics, pending solicitor review, for $7,425 per year, two-year contract for software programming to assist our high school physical education program with sports-specific training built into the physical education courses around fitness and training. 14.3, request the approval of a contract with Chester County Intermediate Unit, Brandywine Virtual Academy, pending solicitor review, for $838 per full year virtual course at the secondary level grades 6 through 12, and for the $873 per full year virtual course at the elementary level grades 4 and 5. Looking for a motion to approve curriculum and staff development items 14.1 through 14.3 as presented. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Transportation, 15.1, request approval of the transportation contract with Gaiman's Mennonite School for the school year 2022-23 to transport students for a daily rate of $4.76 per student per day for up to 6 students from the first day of school until the last day of school per attached. Looking for a motion for 15.1.
So moved, Negrini.
Mr. Negrini, thank you. Looking for a second?
Second
case.
Hart.
Mr. Case, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
Under Food and Cafeteria, 16.1, request approval of the bid awards for the 2022-23 school year. Looking for a motion for 16.1.
So moved, Negrini.
Mr. Negrini, thank you. Do we have a second?
Casper.
Mrs. Casper, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McCray?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mrs. Casper?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no.
And that takes us to committee reports. BCTC, Mrs. Casper.
Yeah, thank you, President Cocker. The JOC met on June 22nd at the West Campus. The meeting actually began with a summary of the 2022 career camp that happened this past summer, this past June, at BCTC. BCTC actually presented an award to our very own Jeff Giannakovo for his tenacious efforts and support for getting more students exposed to the amazing careers offered at BCTC. Mr. Giannakovo actually donated to register students from Wilson for this year's camp, and as a result, Wilson had the highest number of enrolled campers, with 30 students attending the camp this year of the 102 students who were in attendance. So thank you again, Mr. Giannakovo. As far as honors went at the end of the school year, our student honors that went to our Wilson students for the fourth quarter: Nicholas Orient for auto collision repair technology, Preston Smith for service occupations, Sarah Orender for cosmetology, Kiaralis Camacho for culinary arts, Nashalis Malalvi for health occupations, Megan Marasco for video and media content production, and finally, Grace Moyer was Wilson's gold medalist recipient for business management and entrepreneurship at the National Skills USA competition in Atlanta. So congratulations to all those students. That's my report. Our next meeting is at the East Campus on Wednesday, August 24th.
Thank you, Mrs. Casper. Student Services Committee. Mrs. Casper, do you have a report?
No report.
Thank you. BCIU, Dr. Kennedy.
I have no report from the BCIU. They don't meet in July.
And how about Curriculum Committee?
Curriculum Committee did not have a meeting. However, several of us from the Curriculum Committee did go, if you look up in the agenda, at Albright's Science Research Institute. It was 14.1. We did go visit the actual Albright's Science Research Institute, and it was a really interesting day, nice, beautiful weather. But a bunch of us went up just to see what was going on, and some good stuff.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman.
Good evening. The Berks Tax Collection Committee met on June 30th. We reviewed the calendar year May year-to-date financial statements, and the revenues and expenses are on target compared to the budget. The calendar year earned income tax distributions are up $10 million, or 14% over the prior year at this time, which is great news for all the municipalities and school districts in our county. Attorney Jennifer Brown is currently working on business privilege tax ordinances within the municipalities and the school districts that the Berks EIT collects for, so they can arrive at uniformity so that their new software can collect and process those tax returns. Also, the solicitor for Berks EIT reported on the progress of prosecuting employers who are delinquent in filing their earned income tax withholding returns. And that should bring in quite a bit of significant dollars as well. Our next meeting is September 29th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schlossman. We do not have an extracurricular committee meeting report. We have not held our committee this summer, and we will not until September. Facilities Committee, Mr. Case.
Thank you. The operations team is continuing with summer cleaning and projects such as new directional signage on Grandview Boulevard, concrete replacement at Green Valley, playground mulch, and completing the paint in the admin building, along with some various rooms getting a facelift for some of the moves of staff. We are scheduling some additional projects and hope to have them completed by the start of the school year. We had a false alarm on Sunday night at Green Valley due to a faulty duct sensor that has been replaced since. The gym sound system will be installed. That's starting today, and it'll be ready for the start of the school year. And the next facilities meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 8th at the Operations Center at 4:30. Tip. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Case. Finance Committee, Mr. Negrini.
Thank you. The state passed its 2022-23 budget on July 8th, which included a $525 million increase in basic education subsidy and a $100 million increase in special education funding. If you recall, Wilson had incorporated approximately 25% of Governor Wolf's original budget during our final budget preparation. The final state budget came in at about 44% of his original proposal. As a result, the final state subsidy allocations provided an additional $869,000 more than budgeted in subsidies for 2022 2023. The district's increase in basic education funding and special education funding will be used as needed resources to educate our special education and non-special education student population, lessening the budgeted deficit and need to draw on as much fund balance as originally anticipated. These additional state monies will be taken into consideration in building next year's budget when looking at proposed millage rates. If those of you recall, Mr. Martin and myself had discussed that at our June 20th board meeting where we passed our final budget and indicating that the additional $869,000 in subsidy equates to 0.34 mils. So keep that in mind for next year's budget process regarding the extra money that was unanticipated as a result of what we had passed back in June. Additionally, the district will be receiving physical and mental health safety grants totaling $384,209. Our administrative team is collaboratively developing a strategic plan to enhance the safety, security, and well-being of our students and staff. We are grateful for these additional funding sources, which are essential in enabling the Wilson School District to provide an exceptional educational experience for all our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Negrini. Legislative, Mr. Martin.
Well, Jay kind of took care of most of my report, but as you know, they did pass the budget. Now they're on summer recess. But there's a couple big issues which I'll address at our next meeting. One of them is having to deal with transgender sports in Pennsylvania. As everyone, I should say everyone, but the governor vetoed it a few days ago. That was House Bill 912 that would prevent certain crossovers into the women's sports arena. So once again, he kind of left it up to school districts. One school district in Pennsylvania, the borders of Lancaster County, Hempstead, developed their own program, and they passed a very similar bill to what the governor vetoed. So it appears that each school district will be fortunately making decisions one way or another, almost identical to the math situation, because the guidance is not there. Also, there's been, talk about property tax reform. There's a couple of things floating around. I'll talk more about that. There's been additional money granted to the PA1000 program, which is tax abatements for the elderly. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But overall, I think the key issues that we'll be looking at come September when they reconvene will be going forward funding for certain issues, because the pension is still absorbing a great deal of the monies allocated to education. And when budget gets allocated, even in our budget, part of that is for pensions, which continually rises. So that one still has to be addressed. And I will update at the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Human Resources, Mr. Hart.
I have no report.
Thank you. Public Relations, Mrs. Troutman.
Good evening. I just have a couple items. Actually, the first one, Mrs. Casper already acknowledged, but we'll celebrate Grace again. So again, we just want to recognize Grace Moyer, who is a student at Berks Career and Technology Center, who earned that first place at the Skills USA National Leadership Conference, who was part of a team of 4 local students who competed in the entrepreneurship event. So just an amazing, amazing accomplishment for Grace and her team. She was featured in an article in the Reading Eagle, which actually is out in our case outside here if you want to take a look at it. Also, speaking of the Reading Eagle, Dr. Chris Trickett was recently interviewed by the Eagle for an article about his new position as superintendent. So far, the article has appeared on the Reading Eagles Facebook page and also on their website. It was on Friday in both of those places, so we are anticipating it will be in print, hopefully sometime soon. But we do want to just thank the Reading Eagle. We do have a very positive working relationship with our education reporter, and we just want to thank them for that great coverage. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Troutman. Education Foundation, Mr. Case.
Thank you. A couple of great events are coming up for the Wilson Education Foundation. to look out for. One of them is the 8th Annual Wilson Community Night, which is a back-to-school event that's being held on August 28th. And it's basically everyone getting together, join us for a night at the ballpark, fun, food, pregame festivities, kick off the new school year, and celebrate with other Wilson Bulldogs. There's tickets, general admission are $5, deck tickets are $30, and there's opportunities to become a sponsor. I can leave this up front. There's a barcode, and you can also look on the website of our Wilson School District and navigate to find that link as well. There's also another really great event coming up. Every year, the Wilson Education Foundation sponsors the Bulldog Bash. And this year, there's going to be food and spirits, live music by Mike Noecker. There's going to be an online art auction of Mr. Robert Chappell's artwork. He's also going to be the 2022 Legacy Award winner. So there's going to be a presentation there. And also, we're going to celebrate the Teachers of the Year, Ken Kirshner from Southern Middle School and Vicki Taylor from Wilson High School. So that's going to be a great opportunity. The Bash is a really great fundraiser for the Wilson Education Foundation, and as we've seen and the Education Foundation has demonstrated, all the great things that they do for our Wilson students beyond the tax revenue that, it's all outside of the tax base. So it's a great opportunity to donate to the Education Foundation, support them, and support the students of Wilson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
And the next meeting, first meeting of the school year, is September 9th, 7:30 a.m. here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Case. Technology Committee, Mr. McCray?
No report.
Okay, I believe I heard no report. Mr. Maravich, do we have public participation in non-agenda items?
Rules of public participation for school board meetings pursuant to the Sunshine Law, Robert's Rules, and Board Policy. The following are the rules of public participation. Individuals attending the meeting are expected to conduct themselves in a responsible and respectful manner that does not disrupt the meeting. Public comment is not question and answer, but instead an opportunity to offer comments on matters that or may come before the board. In particular, matters regarding personnel or student may not be commented on, even if the employee, parent, or student is speaking because of confidentiality laws and rules. As it relates to questions, the superintendent may assign an administrator or may speak directly to the speaker after the meeting to attempt to answer any questions raised by the speaker. All comments must be directed to the board as a body and not to any individual. Clapping, calling out, or cheering is not permitted. Individuals may not approach the board table. Individuals shall make their comments from the speaker's lectern. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes, and I provide that 1 minute notice. Any person making any threats of violence may be removed from the meeting and cited by local police. The above expectations are outlined in Board Policy 903, which is on the website embedded in board docs.
Thank you, Mr. Maravich. First, we have Nara Azar, taxes.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So I'm a resident of Wilson School District. It's my first time attending one of these meetings in over 20 years of residing here. So one of the items that did bring attention to me coming to this meeting was the taxes as far as the budgets and the increase as far as like the 3.5%. And I just wanted to understand, or maybe it's I should have done some due diligence as far as like trying to get some information behind gathering some facts before attending such a meeting, but I had such short notice. So I'm here just trying to ask to get a summary as far as the 3.5% increase, and just trying to understand where that comes from, and the concern it might have with our real estate tax. That's all. Do I sit back down? Or do I sit here?
Well, so we don't, we could have a conversation after the meeting too, just
Okay. So
either Dr. Trickett or, yeah, just,
Okay,
or one
sit
of us.
back down.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you for your questions. Tammy Keener, miscellaneous.
Hi, guys. I wasn't at the last one, but I had to watch it 3 times to believe what I actually heard. Mr. Trickett and I have had a conversation on the phone about this. This is the U.S. Constitution. This is what I fought for when I was in the military. Not government officials, not politicians, not right or left, but our oath to our Constitution. I respect that. That upholds and is greater than any policy that any one of you can write. It upholds and supersedes any of them. Just keep that in mind. Right now, we've got a really bad issue with taxes. I've been fighting this on that over 10 years. That seems useless because until we flip the board and make it more conservative, we're not going to get anywhere with that. I'm more concerned right now with the curriculum. I think we need to strip it. This, you call it equity. It's really an umbrella, social emotional learning, it's critical race theory, it's gender identity, it's intersexuality, comprehensive sex education, and changing the values and beliefs and mindsets. This was referred to with Mr. Trickett. You groomed him for this position. That's what you're doing to our children. And we're going to take it back. You got to remember, we elected you. We pay those tables. We pay for those computers. We pay the chairs that you're sitting on and the lights that are on here. We're done messing around with you, and we're going to take it back now. We're done. I've had incidences happen in front of my house, and with all due respect to the kid, so the kid doesn't get any more harassment, Mr. Trickett and I have discussed it. If that happens again, I will go to the police, and I will report that they're learning this in school. I've had enough. And the way you disparaged
1 minute.
two attorneys sitting on this board, neither one of you called her out, how she slandered Randy Blatt at the last meeting. I'm appalled. I'm done with you. I've had enough.
Chastity Santiago, tax increase, previous meeting comments.
My apologies, my kid didn't throw my reading glasses in my bag, so I'm half blind, so. Okay, so I know I'm usually passionate. This is going to be a very passionate 3 minutes here. Working class, belonging to a social group that consists of people who earn less than other groups, often being paid only for the hours or days that they work, and usually do physical work rather than work for which they need an advanced education. Thought it was important to highlight the definition of working class when it was used as an adjective as it was during the last meeting by a board member. I'm also here to make it known that many residents do not appreciate this type of divisional language. Personally, this global business leader living in one of those communities referred to as working class finds your level of implicit bias quite disturbing and ignorant. And also want to point out it's in conflict with your oh so important equity policy. Now, on to numbers. 4-year trends, when I look at the numbers, 1.3% increase in year over year in the past 4 years in residents over 60. 4.1% increase in students that are economically disadvantaged in our district. How are they going to find a way to pay for those taxing increases? Can they afford it? I mean, I heard on the last meeting it was the highest one of the decade. Or will we get a return on investment for those taxes better than what we've gotten before, which is the 107% increase in charter school enrollment, 17% decrease in science proficiency by eighth grade, 10% drop in English proficiency by 8th grade, as well as 29% drop in math proficiency by 8th grade. So, I don't know, what I can tell you is the number of residents who can't pay their taxes will go up, the percentage of households that have to pay double taxes for their loved ones like myself so they don't lose their dignity in their homes will go up. You know, there's about 18,000 residents in Pennsylvania that lose their homes due to school taxes. They're being driven out. A large portion of them are grandparents. And loss of a grandparent has an immediate impact on the well-being of children. Any residents with hardships that are, that you are having hardships with, you can contact me after the meeting and I'll help you.
1 minute.
Research indicates that grandparents are involved in their grandchildren's daily lives. They do better in school. They have better social and emotional skills. I just don't understand why we keep trying to push more out. What I can say is I applaud the new superintendent for his plan that he socialized with the community. It was a very short amount of time mentioning goals and metrics, and the acknowledgement of lacking them truly shows the commitment. Now, I do recall those same deliverables were part of an equity policy that we had to so importantly pass 6 months ago. Nothing. Haven't seen nothing yet. All that tells me my original sentiment was true. It was just an attempt to make somebody feel better about themselves and give themselves a pat in the back because we don't care about it. Instead of trying to suggest silencing parents, as I heard during the last meeting, maybe you need to focus on moving the academic needle and not related to sports. We need achievement for academics, arts. I just don't understand what we're doing here in this district anymore.
That's the end of our public participation. Any other conversation from the board? Okay, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? Dr. Kennedy, thank you. Meeting adjourned.